Time recaps the content of the previous episode. Park Sejun learns that his whereabouts have been leaked. In the other party is also Han Taejun, the awakened person with the strongest combat power in Country H. Luckily for you, Theo claims to have been with Han Taejun. Kim Dongji and the three signed a confidentiality agreement. Park Sejun thought about it. It's the two of them. It doesn't matter. After all, he's outside the Black Tower. The safety of family members also depends on them to protect them. But magically, the cause of this incident is actually here. Theo accidentally sold the flaming sweet potatoes to them. Could this be the mind of a wandering merchant? That's what happened. Theo interrupted Park Sejun's conjecture. He told his boss that there was something he wanted to ask for help with. Theo then recounted his reason for becoming a wandering merchant. It's because of being in a village by a guy named Oren. Snatched a girlfriend as a result. Speaking of which, the more Theo spoke, the angrier he became. He tried his best to persuade Oren. Don't let the goblins trick us out. But anger is anger. Theo still wants to ask his boss, Park Sejun, for help. Don't let Oren come to the king of cows and horses. I lost my life when I sold those useless items. All he needs to do is teach him a simple lesson. Seeing that Park Sejun did not move, Theo even sprinkled on it. This can make Park Sejun straight. Tell the composure. Think carefully about how to deal with this matter. Immediately, a brilliant idea came to Sejun's mind. There should be no more interesting strategy than that. Screen turns. Come to the 99th floor of the Black Tower. 3 clear rows of footprints appeared on the road. The person who came wanted to sell his goods to Oran, the king of cattle and horses, and his 2 servants. They've been here for a while. But the 99th floor is such a barren sight. Still scared Oran. Unfortunately, they now have all the water and food they have with them. Another junior brother explained, it's all because you run out of money on the road. Like goblin merchandise, registered wandering merchants, and endless profligacy drinking. In the end, they had no extra money to buy and couldn't afford it. Speaking of which, the little brother knelt down in despair. He thought they would starve to death in the desert. But when Oren heard this, he felt that the little brother was making too much of a fuss. As long as he sells all goods short, isn't there money? When the time comes, ask the king of cattle and horses for something to eat and drink. It's so hard to get there. The other party will definitely entertain us. That's right. How long do we have to get to our destination? Hearing this, the little brother said after looking at the map, this will be followed by a 2 to 3 day trip. Hearing the news, Oren immediately exploded. The 3 of them may not have made it to their destination. It's already a dry corpse. That's when it happened. Oren and the younger brother suddenly stopped arguing, because there were 2 figures in front of them that we were very familiar with. Fat Bunny and his younger brother. With a cart full of water, they walked towards Oren. Seeing this, the 3 of Oren were like wild horses on the loose. Ran towards the cart. They don't bother to ask, why did someone sell water in such a deserted place? And the fat rabbit boss said, each bottle of water only costs 0.5 taps. Judging by Oren's elongated chin, we can tell that this is a very expensive price. But this place is a place that anyone who looks at the water source is very cherished. If you don't want to die of thirst, Oren, it must be purchased. The strong desire to survive is constantly impacting the hearts of the 3 of them. If you want to complete the trade with the king of cattle and horses, you must survive. Hearing this, the fat rabbit boss asked, Oran is a wandering merchant guest of the king of cattle and horses. Immediately Oren said, he came to sell goods to the king of cattle and horses, and confidently swayed the junior wandering merchant's badge on his chest. Hearing this, the fat rabbit saw the donkey under the slope and said, since it is a guest, it allowed the 3 of them to buy on credit. Immediately, 3 pieces of brown paper were handed over. This is the credit contract that the fat rabbit drew up for them. But anyone knows it's a trap. And the contract clearly states, if the arrears are not repaid within 3 days, you will need to pay 10 times as much for the card. Fat Bunny also explained, the reason for this rule is that the environment here is so poor, and a lot of people have fled from here. When the time comes, if you really can't afford to pay it back, labor can also be used to pay off debts. Listen to Oren's resolute expression. None of this is something that can't happen. They sell the goods 3 days later and pay the arrears immediately. As a dignified second generation of village wealth, he didn't want to be someone else's laborer. After speaking, Oren, 3 of them emptied all the water sources brought by the fat rabbit boss. Immediately afterwards, Oren said goodbye to the fat rabbit without looking back. They also claim that they will definitely clear their debts in 3 days. But he didn't know that there would be more surprises waiting for him next. Hearing this, the fat rabbit calmly nibbled on the carrot in his hand. The first ring task for which they were responsible was successfully completed. How many bottles of water do you need to get out of the desert? But apparently Oren, they didn't think about it. The water they collected from the fat bunny boss. It only took 1 day to drink it all, but now it's relatively hydrated. There is a more pressing issue that needs to be addressed. Drinking water doesn't make you hungry at all. Just in the midst of despair, Oren, who drank empty water, asked his younger brother for water. The little brother, who only had a last bottle left, was a little unhappy. But the arrogant prince, where is Oren, the master of reason? Suddenly, another little brother saw the incredible scene again. He panicked and told Oren that there was smoke going from the place ahead, and concluded that it was a restaurant. Hearing this, Oren looked very calm. Oh, walked in the desert for 2 days. It is possible for them to see a mirage. The smell of grilled fish permeated the air. Instantly broke their thinking. This is definitely a grilled fish restaurant. Welcome. Come to the only rabbit grilled fish restaurant on the 99th floor of Black Tower. 3 guest officers inside. I saw that the 3 of them ran to the pavilion without stopping. Immediately scrambled to ask the sickle rabbit for grilled fish. Listen to the sickle rabbit said. Grilled fish only requires 1 tat. This price obviously shocked the second generation of Muradami Oren again. Is the consumption level of the 99th floor so high now? Hearing this, the sickle rabbit explained. There are no rivers and no marine fish in this area. But it's a very, very cherished food. The price of 1 tower coin is really the price of jumping. The words, Oren took out the credit contract he signed with the fat bunny boss yesterday, and proposed to the sickle rabbit to also carry out credit service. Watching each other be so good. Side bunny didn't say a word, and the 3 of them signed a credit contract for this consumption. Then he started his cooking show on the slate. Fresh piranha is roasted on a scorching slate. A strong aroma emerges instantly. Soon, 10 piranhas, grilled and cooked, appeared in front of the 3 of Oren. The 3 of them, who had eaten for 2.5 days, suddenly turned into gluttony. So, it is necessary to swallow what is in front of you. They also ordered delicious grilled squid. This is also a dish that Sickle Bunny likes very much. And the 3 who live in the village. Naturally, these fresh foods will not be missed. It only took 2.5 minutes. The 3 of Oren wiped out dozens of beauties. It seems that people can eat a lot when they are extremely hungry. It doesn't matter if you almost vomit yourself. However, the irregular diet makes their stomach and intestines move rapidly. Lack of a blood supply to the brain. Let the sleepiness hit very quickly. Even to swear, Oren, who was still determined to hurry, also fell. It seems that people often say that when you are full, you will be sleepy. It really makes sense. That's it. The second level that Scythe Bunny and his subject are responsible for. The task was also completed perfectly. Soon the time came to the morning of the 3rd day. The glare of the sunlight made Oren very uncomfortable. He also wanted to ask the younger brother on the side what was going on. Didn't know that the little brother was already trembling with fear at this time. Speechless, I saw a big bull's head suddenly appear in front of Oren's eyes. This scene almost scared him out of the grilled fish he ate yesterday. Immediately, a bull-headed warrior said, "Are you 3 going to see the king of cows and horses?" At this time, the 2 younger brothers were already frightened into the 6 gods. Get on your knees and beg for mercy. Oren, who was accustomed to seeing the world, hurriedly stabilized his figure. A slightly crying expression. They are wandering merchants. Also asked the minotaurs not to hurt them. Hearing this, Neo-Heir stood up and told the 3 of Oren seriously, "Now I will bring them to the king of cattle and horses." Hearing this, Oren calmed down. It turned out that the younger brothers of the king of cattle and horses came to lead the way. After a while, the screen came to the territory of the king of cattle and horses. The 3 of Oren looked at the scene in front of them. I didn't dare to move. I saw dozens of bull-headed warriors lined up in front of me as a whole, led by a giant figure. Nature is the legendary king of cattle and horses. I saw the domineering opening of the king of cattle and horses. Are you 3 going to see the king? Seeing this, Oren took out the package, trembling and trembling. They just want to sell some goods to each other. These are all precious items from outside the tower. The 3 of them had no other ill will. Here are the props outside the tower. The king of cattle and horses of this keyword immediately said. He had to check with an expert. Immediately after that, the king of cattle and horses lowered his posture. Thank you to the people who came from behind. Good thing you got here ahead of time. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do with this. Dear Lord Black Dragon, we're working stars. Comforted feelings. You said to be together to tell fortunes. The 3 of Oren were frightened by this meeting and broke out in a cold sweat. They didn't expect to meet that person here. The legendary Great Black Dragon. Immediately Park Sejun said. He has the ability to identify precious treasures. No treasure is hidden before his eyes. Followed by, Park Sejun ordered Oren to take out all the props he had brought with him. At this time, Oren was surprised and delighted. If the items he brought over were favored by the Great Black Dragon, the preference of the king of cattle and horses is not worth mentioning. Immediately, Oren emptied the contents of his backpack. Then Oren told Park Sejun tremblingly. That's what he brought with him. So Park Sejun swatted down to check. The items were exactly what he had guessed. It's another pile of useless debris on Earth. And this cleaning sticker is a very chicken prop. I didn't expect Skalam to sell this kind of thing to Oran. Oran, who saw this scene. I thought the great black dragon had taken a fancy to this prop. Please explain. This is a valuable item that has been endowed with paste magic. It can be used to absorb fallen dust and hair. And it's very affordable. Only 50 tar coins are needed to enjoy it immediately. Hearing this, the two younger brothers on the side took the lead in blowing it up. Didn't expect that. Items that are purchased with only 5 tower coins was actually shouted 10 times the high price by Orin. Orin is one of the richest second generations in their village. In the face of the great black dragon, courage is not inferior at all. Orin, who has already been quoted, seeing great black dragon, did not react. Hurriedly continued to pave the way to it. Sources of sticky sticks are scarce. After hearing this, Park Sejun sighed deeply. His face changed. He stared coldly at Ulu. Didn't I say that lies don't work for me? There's no magic in this thing at all. It works like a pile of rolled-up paste. This is an ordinary item that can be found everywhere on the Earth. In other words, this prop is worthless garbage in the Black Tower. As soon as the state came out, it scared Oran half to death. Remembered. Is there a possibility that Lord Black Dragon? You read it wrong, but the words were not finished. Oran read it. He accidentally said what was in his heart. And it's a blatant question. The great black dragon. Suddenly, a huge palm slammed down, directly shook Oran away. Then an angry face came into view. The king of cows and horses could not have imagined. This little kitten actually dared to question the ability of Lord Black Dragon. But the sudden temper of the king of cattle and horses, it really scared Park Sejun on the side. He felt like his soul was almost flying out. See this? The three of Oran, who reacted, were so frightened that they knelt down and begged for mercy. And keep explaining. This is all because of being deceived by profiteers. Oran's heart at this time, the ancestor of the Goblin Kalam, has long been raised. All 18 generations greeted each other. It turned out to be really the same as Theo said. Skalam is a real liar. But in fact, Park Sejun was not angry because of this. At the great black dragon, surely I won't lose my temper over these little things. Instead, it was Oran on their way here. A lot of debt. Speaking of which, Park Sejun directly had a showdown with Oran. Another hobby I have in the Black Tower is doing business. The shops you met along the way were all run by myself. With that, the 3 rabbits came out of the way. Scythe Bunny told the 3 Oran. The debts they owe along the way are combined. The conversion tower is 500 pieces. Add to that the cost of accommodation and the act of littering in the desert. There is an additional cleaning fee, but based on the fact that none of you have any tower coins to pay the debt. So we can offset it by converting it to the number of bricks made. Roughly about 100,000 bricks can settle the debt. It was too late for Oran to be shocked and refute, because he did owe a debt to the shop. So he could only weakly ask the sickle rabbit, what does it mean to make bricks? Listen to what the king of cattle and horses told Oran. They are the great black dragons. Patience is given to you. As long as you use your labor to offset your debts, you can do it. Screen turns, Oran and his party arrived at the brickmaking site. There are already countless Minotaurus warriors working here, and I can ask them to show you a little bit of it. How to make bricks. All you need to do is make a mold, compacting the damp soil. A boxy mud brick block is made, and the 3 of Oran, who are burdened with huge debts. 100,000 of these bricks would need to be reproduced. The 3 of Oran watched as the bricks larger than their bodies suddenly collapsed. They know it. It is very laborious to make a piece with your own physique. And what is the concept of 100,000 yuan? Park Sejun naturally knew the difference between Oran and the bull warriors. So according to the calculation, the 3 of Oran make 10 bricks a day. It only takes 10,000 days. They will be able to settle all their debts. And I have to help you eat and drink Lazar during this time. Sleep and rest. You'll have to make more bricks to offset it. Park Sejun's words are like several thunderbolts, slammed into the brains of the 3 Orans. Doesn't this mean that they will not be able to pay off their debts in this life? Seeing this, the 3 of them knelt down and begged Park Sejun for mercy. Just do not do brick to do anything. They are willing to hear it. Park Sejun said. He's also not someone who likes to force others to work. Just in the business he runs. There is a place where there is a great shortage of manpower. Just follow the sales rep. Carrying things in a backpack will do the trick. If you are willing to work 10,000 days, you can also offset all your debts. And I heard there was no need to make mud bricks larger than their size. Or instead, they're more than willing to do it. The 2 sides then reached an agreement very happily. Because this job sounds like the nature of a wandering businessman. It makes no difference. It's just a matter of packing items into a space backpack. And he is also working under the great black dragon. Take 10,000 steps back. It's not an unseemly job, isn't it? The pop-up of the system message also means that the intern contract has been successfully signed. Seeing this, Oren hurriedly said what they need to do now. After listening to Park Sejun, he introduced the three of them to Olin. They followed the deputies. That is, the head of the distribution business division. Theo, the ultimate wandering businessman, sees a familiar figure. The three of them suddenly felt a chill in their hearts. Theo, how did you end up here? How could the people who had fled from the village end up here? After hearing this, Theo immediately punched Oren's cerebellum. How dare you, and in turn, speak to a delegate like that? Immediately, Theo crossed his hands on his hips, stand in front of the three. Oren, dear new interns. Well, I am a sales representative in the distribution division. He is also the first employee under Lord Black Dragon. So you all need to obey the orders of my representative in the future. I heard it or not, the three of Oren said reluctantly. Heard it? At this time, the most unhappy is naturally Oren himself. He could never have imagined that it would end up in such a situation. Soon Theo took the three with him, came to the place where they would work in the future. But obviously, after they looked at the endless farmland, at the bottom of my heart is extremely desperate. It just so happens that it's time for the magic tomato harvest again. So Theo and the three of them immediately went to work. And Park Sejun, who saw this scene, was relieved. Theo became a manager. Naturally, more responsibilities need to be taken on back. In this way, it will be relatively easy for yourself. And this time, the person he's most grateful for is the king of cattle and horses. If only a lot of help from him and his little brothers, I wouldn't have solved things so smoothly. But in fact, before that, the king of cows and horses has passed through the system window, received the fate of a real black dragon. He told the king of cows and horses, Park Sejun can be directly called the Great Black Dragon, but it's more because of neighbors. It's normal to help each other, but it would be better if there was a little reward as a thank you. After speaking, the saliva of the king of cattle and horses flowed out unconsciously. Seeing this, Park Sejun naturally understood what the king of cattle and horses meant. So he said that the green onions on the side could be used by him as a reward. In fact, there's no need for the king of cattle and horses to speak. These green onions are also what Park Sejun is going to give him. Suddenly, Theo's very excited voice came from the vegetable garden next to him. It turned out to be Oren's younger brother. I accidentally picked a magic tomato that was not yet ripe. And there is also a little brother who accidentally picked the tomato. This was naturally scolded by Theo again. If you know why, you can comment on Popular Science. After a period of practical operation to lead the team, Theo also published a summary. The Orange Trio just don't know anything about picking tomatoes. Park Sejun, who saw this scene, couldn't help but sigh. It turns out that frogs also have forgotten that they are tadpoles at one time. But in fact, according to the cause and effect of this incident, told us the truth. That is, don't bully young people into poverty. We're working stars. Coveted feelings. You said to be together to tell fortunes. Until the day you left. Part-time, work outside of class. We started a long-distance relationship. Just follow me. Don't love me. Even the other mounds are definitely Oren's most aggrieved moments. He couldn't figure it out even if he wanted to break his head. The most down-and-out kitten in his village. He actually became a subordinate of Lord Black Dragon. When I think about these few days, I feel like a slave. Oren felt humiliated. When it happened, a flying punch interrupted Oren's thoughts, just as he was covering his head and preparing to have a seizure. But he was scolded and choked back by the person who came, Theo. It turned out that when he was in a daze, ignore Theo's call. After thinking about the humiliation of these few days, Oren couldn't hold back the anger in his heart, after all. Unexpectedly, a figure appeared at this time. The vicious gaze extinguished Oren's anger. Seeing this, Oren could only let go immediately, hold Theo's collar's hand, and said that he just wanted to help him sort out his clothes. Seeing this scene, the silver wolf Elko relaxed his vigilance. Theo, however, scoffs at Oren's face-changing performance. I didn't expect that this rival Oren would also be planted in his hands one day. After half a ring, Theo then took the grieving Oren to meet with the other two small lads. Thanks to the younger brother Mark and Jeff, the harvesting of baby tomatoes was outstanding. It is possible to reduce the working hours by 1 day each. As for the performance of the Oren interns, because of the negative attitude at work, so the family often works for a long day. So when Oren fell into grief for the second time, Park Sejun walked over. He told Theo that it was almost time to go down and sell something. Theo then told Park Sejun, the backpacks of the three Oren are relatively worn. Storage bags can't hold a lot of products, but then they help make money. There is an option to upgrade their backpacks. But looking at the boss Park Sejun, who was dressed in good gear, Theo hurriedly asked where he was going. Listen to Park Sejun tell Theo. He was about to go to the woods to the west. Soon Park Sejun and Theo were in large force. Somewhere in the forest, they came together. This is also the fork in the road between him and Theo. I saw Theo suddenly cover Park Sejun's mouth, and asked each other again and again, "Don't you really need his company on this trip to the western forest?" Hearing this, Park Sejun was moved. Naturally, he knew that Theo was worried about his safety. But hopefully Theo will say it again next time. You can take care of the feelings of the people next to you. The flame bear and cub will accompany him throughout the process and take care of his sense of safety. And Park Sejun also said. He also has Theo, who does show his whole parts. You don't have to worry about my safety. After hearing this, Theo had no choice but to jump off Park Sejun. But he was still uneasy about it. After all, this trip is to the treacherous western forest. At this time, Elka on the side spoke. In fact, going on an adventure in the forest is more fun than doing business. Isn't it? As soon as this mangacap suddenly broke the image of Theo's stargazing boss. In the end, it was Park Sejun who put an end to the controversy. Elka. This was Theo's first time. Take the experience of 3 interns as an example. He's going to have to be better. See this. Theo was no longer embarrassed to linger. Immediately, Theo and Park Sejun said goodbye. Immediately afterwards, under the protection of the 3 Silver Wolf brothers, walk in the direction of the lower tower. After seeing Theo away, Park Sejun, 1 man and 2 bears, also officially set off to explore the western forest. For interns, they came to the fallen forest. There was a gloomy atmosphere everywhere here. It made Park Sejun feel uneasy. And the trees here look very weird. And their smell is also very unpleasant. This makes a bear, who has a keen sense of smell, very uncomfortable. Suddenly, the flame giant bear, which had been full of vigilance, shouted out to Park Sejun. Animal intuition. He felt a sense of crisis coming from ahead. Suddenly, a cold and gloomy wind blew. There are countless weird branches, blocked their way. But Park Sejun, who is a human, looked at the dead tree in front of him and shook his head. He did not perceive the presence of the enemy. The flame bear used his palm to stop Park Sejun, who was about to move forward. He tells Sejun that he can't go any further. Suddenly, the rattan on the ground actually moved strangely. Wait for Park Sejun to take a look. The rattans actually came out of the holes in the dead trees. The next second, the dead trees were like they had received orders. All came to life. It turns out that these are all monsters called the Fallen Watchmen. Suddenly, Park Sejun felt his hairs stand on end. And the bear with a keen sense of smell is so smoked that he wants to vomit. Suddenly, one of the hand watchers attacked. I saw the rattan in his mouth. Quickly flew towards Park Sejun and the others. At the last moment, the flame bear stopped the attack with his fist in time. Meanwhile, several watchers also attacked. It's just a breathing room. The flame bear's massive size was firmly controlled. Seeing this, Park Sejun could no longer sit still. He threw away the magical straw hat on top of his head. Then he drew the dagger from his waist and the axe together. Suddenly, a small flame of fire. It came out of the top of Park Sejun's head. It turned out that this was the whole card that Park Sejun did not show. Based on the skills learned by the spark spirits, the flames of the Qing River. However, the flame that has just been lit, it was accidentally extinguished by a small hand. Bear who doesn't know the truth. Only felt the top of his head was on fire. This funny scene can make Park Sejun panic. That's what spark gave him a perk. Soon Park Sejun was in combat mode again. Note, even the smallest flame needs to be strengthened to be more powerful. I saw that he rubbed the weapons in his hands tightly together. Listen only to the sound of iron colliding. Suddenly, countless sputtering sparks appeared. With the blessing of the flames of the Qing River, a huge flame burst out of thin air. I saw that the flame had just touched the bodies of the watchers. It ignited a raging flame with lightning speed. Flames are indeed the natural enemies of trees. Even restrained the flames. Rattan, the giant bear, also burned in an instant. I saw that the fire was getting bigger and bigger. Park Sejun and the others hurriedly chose to retreat first. Otherwise, the forest fires are likely to affect them. Unexpectedly, the fire in the forest was even faster than expected. Not for a while, smoke rose from the sky. Park Sejun hurriedly asked the flame giant bear to speed up his pace and flee from here. However, the flame bear stopped at this moment. It turned out that there was a fallen watchman in the way in front of him. Suddenly, the flame bear rose up and ran again. Immediately, he asked Park Sejun to use the flame skill he just used again. And he also asked the giant bear on the side to prepare. Cooperate with Sejun. Park Sejun didn't have time to understand the cooperation that the flame giant bear said. He could only create flames with great speed. At the moment when the phage released its flames, a figure sped into the air like a pulse of particles. I saw the owner of the figure open his hands violently. Next second, The giant bear actually struck with both hands. Hit the flame. Suddenly, a violent blast of flame rushed forward. In an instant, a small mushroom cloud emerged from the place where it was hit by the flames. That's probably enough to match the power of a missile. This movement startled the king of cattle and horses and Minotaurus not far away. Bull warriors, the king of cows and horses couldn't help but stand up, look in the direction of the blazing fire. Meanwhile, the rabbits on the other side also noticed this image. Isn't that direction the fallen forest where Park Sejun and the others set off? Only Daddy Bunny knows. This may be caused by the power of the Chinga spark. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in front of them. Park Sejun and the others actually returned to the dungeon safely. Park Sejun's appearance immediately dispelled the rabbits' worries. Soon the crowd returned to the dungeon. Sejun, who survived the catastrophe, hurriedly thanked Spark. If it weren't for his ability to affinity with the flames. This time, I am afraid that they will be more than lucky. But Daddy Bunny said, Sejun, they were too reckless this time. This nearly burned all the forest to the west. Park Sejun was also surprised when he heard this. He just wanted to get rid of the dryads who kept coming to disturb them. I didn't think that the ability to spark could make things so big. But here's the good news. The dryads shouldn't be invading his territory for a while. Suddenly, there was a reminder from the system that the beekeeping skills were upgraded. Sejun, who was confused, hurriedly looked at the 3 bee queens who happened to fly over. Unexpectedly, he was told by the bee queens. Pollen can now be picked. I made honey jelly. It turned out that this was after the beekeeping skill was upgraded. The newly acquired skills of the bee queens. And after eating jelly, you can strengthen your talents. After listening to the words of the queen of bees, Park Sejun was shocked. Honey jelly can actually be strengthened. To soak in the hot springs for 8 hours in a row. What will be the consequences? This is the courtyard for Irene, the caretaker. In a good mood, she even took a bath in the hot spring pool. When she was done, she picked up the bacteria. Tomato honey juice soaked for him by hand. Lovely Lynn didn't know it. His danger was already looming. She felt that it was the happiest moment he had lived for more than 300 years. I don't know if it's a hot spring. Erin's body felt lighter and lighter. But so far, her body is still not growing fast enough. Erin desperately wants to grow up, transform into a human being. That would allow him to leave the area where he had been for hundreds of years. Take the skies for yourself, and experience the outside space firsthand. The thought of it will make Sejun see his original appearance. Erin felt a wave of shyness inexplicably. When it happened, Erin remembered. Sejun said, Today it seems that I will try the new abilities brought by the Spark Spirit. So he couldn't wait to get out of the hot spring. He also wants to witness the new ability with Sejun. Suddenly, there was a strong strangeness in Irene's heart. She listed louding. Erin fell to the ground. He only felt a sharp pain in his dragon heart. It's a feeling that Erin has never experienced. He is now in great need of help from others. However, the severe pain made him unable to use the slightest strength to call for help. And the crystal ball communicator was right in front of him. But as the picture faded, Erin was completely unconscious. Administrator Erin is really in crisis this time. Could it be that the plot of the heroine is over? That's when it happened. There was a slight tremor in Erin's crystal ball. The system senses that the Black Tower administrator is in danger of life. The Black Tower emergency system is activated. The system will call for support to the last person the administrator contacted. According to system records, he was last contacted by the administrator. Park Sejun, a farmer in the Black Tower. The screen turns. Come to the dungeon. The queen bee is picking tomato pollen with her little bees. He then makes honey from the pollen collected by the little bees. Immediately after that, the queen used her skills to make honey jelly. It's all thanks to Sejun Sung's upgraded beekeeping skills. Special skill Beekeeping LV4. Beekeeping is possible when you have a honeycomb. Possession of a honeycomb. The rate of bees rises in the field of activity. The rate at which queen bees lay eggs has increased. The rate at which bees collect honey has increased. Honey collection by bees has increased. The probability of moisture has increased. Honey gummies with special effects can be produced. Honey jelly. It can only be made with honey and pollen extracted from one type of flower. You can now have a new hive. Park Sejun finished reading the skill introduction. Confused, he couldn't find a description in the system that he could improve his talents. Generally speaking, it is already very difficult for the average awakened person to possess talent. It's not the same thing as honing your talents and leveling them up. An awakened person with the same ordinary talents as he is. The heart needs to go through a long and arduous time baptism. Because before becoming a real craftsman, it's not something that can be solved with effort. Therefore, as long as you eat honey jelly, you can strengthen it. To be able to say so, I'm afraid it can only be realized in the fantasy world of the Black Tower. That's when it happened. The queen bee also brought the honey jelly she had made. I didn't expect it to be just one morning, so they made a hat of jelly. Their scent almost made the giant bear cry. Seeing this, Park Sejun hurriedly kept its hat away from the giant bear and let him go and call the rabbits first. Share together. Hearing this, the giant bear slipped away. Hurriedly ran to call the rabbits. At this time, Park Sejun also opened a window of honey jelly. Tomato flowers like bees. Honey jelly black tower absorbs the magic of nutrient growth. Pollen and honey from cherry tomatoes. The poisonous bees process it themselves. Let its aroma and taste be a must. The concentrated honey maximizes the sweetness. Man-related enhancements are only possible when ingested. Cultivator, Hada Farmer Park Sejun. The shelf life is 1 year. The grade C. Sure enough, here Park Sejun finds an explanation that strengthens his talents. But it's a pity. Park Sejun didn't sharpen his talents. But if the bees make it with other pollen, is it possible to strengthen other types of talents? Meanwhile, the giant bear also happened to call out the rabbits. So Park Sejun planned to put all the honey jelly on hand. Share it with everyone. Soon everyone got a piece of jelly made from honey. I don't know if it will surprise people with its taste. However, where can the gluttonous giant bear be sharpened by a small piece? You know her favorite thing is honey. But the remaining honey jelly. Park Sejun has other plans. He knew that Irene, the administrator, liked the magic tomato the most. Beyond that is the honey produced by the queens. Come to think of it, Park Sejun hurriedly turned into the air and began to call the administrator Aaron. Suddenly, the system box popped up in front of his eyes. However, what Park Sejun saw was bad news. Black Tower caretaker Aaron Politani. Because of the explosion of dragon stars. As a result, it is about to lose its life. The news of the explosion made Park Sejun unable to sit still. He just wanted to know what the hell was going on. But no one answered Park Sejun's questions. Immediately after that, the system issued an urgent task to Park Sejun. Please calm Aaron Pridney's dragon heart. If the mission fails, Aaron Pridney will die. Choose the item that will help Aaron Pridney. This sudden situation, it can't make Park Sejun panic. What is a dragon's heart? And why did he lose control? Sejun has a lot of problems in his heart. The Black Tower Administrator's dragon heart has skyrocketed. With the talent of Aaron Platani, he absorbed the magic he couldn't bear. After listening to the explanation of the system, Park Sejun is still confused. After all, it was the first time he had heard these terms combined. But time waits for no one. Sejun could only force himself to calm down. Think about solutions. He even thought of the reason why the dragon's heart had skyrocketed. Most likely, it was because of the food he had been providing to Aaron for a long time. Come to think of it, Park Sejun suddenly felt his legs go limp. The dragon's heart is out of control. The consequences of all this were actually caused by him. Then he collapsed the interrogation system. What the hell is he going to do to help Irene, the administrator? Seeing this, the system window was also speechless for a while. Then he repeated the message of asking Sejun to choose the prop. The system even told Park Sejun he has a prop that can help. Hearing this, Park Sejun's brain suddenly ran rapidly. What kind of props of his own can help Administrator Irene? That's when it happened. Sejun happened to think of the honey jelly system that he just got today. But this enchantment is this prop. Suddenly, a small red hand with honey jelly reached out. And that's not all. The rabbits who got the jelly handed it out in their hands. All of them were willing to give the jelly to the caretaker who needed it more. Aaron saw this. Park Sejun hurriedly left the system window. Teleport all of these items to the administrator. Aaron. Immediately, the jelly in the hat began to teleport. You have successfully completed the task. And these honey jellies are all controlled by the system. It came steadily to Aaron's mouth. In the blink of an eye, the honey jelly had all been eaten by Irene. Immediately, a burst of golden light emanated from the surface of his body. It seems that honey jelly has succeeded in strengthening Irene's talents. The effect of honey jelly made by poisonous bees strengthened Aaron Platani's talents. The dragon's heart has been slightly strengthened. The restlessness of the dragon's heart gradually stabilized. However, Park Sejun on the other side, still anxiously asking Aaron's situation. In a second, he was able to recover the system. The system represents Aaron Pridney's heart of the dragon. It won't get out of control anytime soon. But Aaron Pridney's talent. If the heart of the dragon does not continue to grow, then his dragon's heart will be at risk of getting out of control again. Hearing this, Park Sejun finally breathed a sigh of relief. At least now Aaron's body is stable. He's sure to think of a solution to what happens next. The picture shifts again. Come to an unknown space. It was mentioned in the previous plot. This is the space outside the Black Tower. When suddenly teleporting to the Black Tower, there's a strange blue light. This is a long-lost situation. Naturally, it was discovered by the people of the Pridney family. I saw a notification appear on it when I teleported. Teleport the Black Tower's emergency system activity log. The only possibility is that something happened to Aaron and the two men who are Irene's father and grandfather. Of course I know this. But alas, Irene, who was in crisis, did not contact them. Otherwise, they could be activated through the Black Tower's emergency system. Open the temporary port. Return to Aaron. And there was a system activity record. It also means that Aaron's eye has stopped losing control. Come to think of it, the man who is Aaron's grandfather can't wait to open activity viewing. Suddenly, a stack of activity records popped up in front of the two of them. After reading the information, Aaron's father turned to surprise, because from this he learned about Irene's dragon heart, not only back to a stable state, and there is a significant improvement compared to before. However, Irene's grandfather didn't say a word after reading it. I saw that the man suddenly became violent, just because he saw Aaron's last contact. Not him. It's a human awakened person named Park Sejun. See this? Aaron's father secretly said something was wrong. This human may have aroused his father's intense jealousy. Thinking of this, the man hurriedly persuaded his father to calm down. The most important thing for them now is to find a way to open the portal. And that human named Park Sejun, maybe Irene's savior. Just listen to the thump. A huge paw appears. Unexpectedly, Irene's grandfather was angry. He actually changed back to its original dragon form. It seems that he minds very much. The man who stole the heart of his granddaughter, Irene. Aaron's grandfather even sent harsh words. It will definitely not make Park Sejun, a human being, feel better. But Irene's father only felt very ashamed now. Sure enough, not far away, two people eating melons noticed this. They accurately guessed Grandpa Aaron must be angry because of the granddaughter's affairs. Because of the neighbors, everyone knows that she loves her precious granddaughter the most. However, a mysterious figure. But he was silently observing everything in secret. He seems to have found a good time to take the Black Tower. This is a stone dragon that spews water. Just connect the handle that Aaron gave you. It will make his sturdy stone body as soft as rubber. It is said that the administrator Aaron ate the new product of the Black Tower half a month ago. Honey belly. Today he finally has the latest progress in his body. Aaron awakened from a coma. I don't seem to have any impression of Park Sejun's feeding. She only felt as if she had just walked out of the ghost gate. And Aaron Lin discovers her dragon's heart. There has been unprecedented stability. That's when it happened. He saw the items on the table. Thoughtfully. Then he slowly picked up the crystal ball. Immediately, all Park Sejun received the relevant notification from the rescue administrator. A burst of brains popped out. Dear, it dawned on Aaron. It turned out that the system contacted Park Sejun according to the emergency mechanism. To think of it, Administrator Aaron blushed. Park Sejun actually saved him again. Wait until he has finished watching the crystal ball video thoroughly. Finally knew that it was honey jelly that helped stabilize the dragon's heart. He fainted. Didn't get a good taste of this delicious honey jelly. I'm Aaron Pratani as the Great Black Dragon. If you get help from home, sincerity should be shown. This is the true dragon of freedom. As for the compensation to be given to Park Sejun, Aaron, she seemed to have an idea in her head. Immediately, Administrator Aaron rummaged through his treasure trove. But he found that there were no props suitable for Park Sejun, who was a farmer. Immediately after that, Aaron turned on his nimble little head. Keep thinking about what the peasants really need. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. Administrator Aaron seems to have discovered something interesting. If you give this thing to Park Sejun, he's going to jump for joy, right? Immediately, the picture came to Park Sejun's house outside the dungeon. At this time, Park Sejun and the rabbits are all asleep. None of them seem to have noticed that the administrator has woken up. Said the Black Tower administrator, "You saved life." Park Sejun seemed to see this message in a daze. Immediately, he woke up from his sleep. He then hurriedly asked the administrator how his current situation was. After seeing the familiar tone of the administrator, Park Sejun was completely relieved. Now she finally knew. Here's why Aaron likes to eat magic tomatoes. Presumably, it is to let the dragon heart in your body. But there is no possibility of magic tomatoes. That's what caused Aaron's dragon's heart to be abnormal. Hearing this, Aaron hurriedly explained to Park Sejun. This was originally a disease of the dragon's heart in his body that flares up every 10 years. But the most recent one, the dragon's heart has not been in the same situation as promised. I'm afraid it's because of the blessing of crops that I will listen to it like this. Park Sejun breathed a deep sigh of relief. To know when Aaron was sick, he felt very guilty. Immediately, Park Sejun took out the honey jelly that had been prepared for Aaron. Because his dragon heart can be strengthened and effective. So I specially prepared more. Said the Black Tower administrator. He can't accept your grant right now. First of all, he wants to repay the favor you gave him a life. You have received a new task. Chat please. Oh my god. Aaron will get a very, very big reward for completing the mission. If you choose to decline, then dismiss your refusal. Due to possibility of dangerous situations, It is recommended that you go outside the house before starting the task. After reading these messages, Park Sejun was stunned. What the hell is the bounty of life? What about tasks that can't be refused? And it looks like this reward is very scary. But in the end, Park Sejun and the others came to the house a few 10 meters away. After all, they're also curious about what the reward really is. Immediately afterwards, Park Sejun took a deep breath. Then he shouted out the seemingly simple sentence. It's not that hard. However, after this, Park Sejun felt the loneliness of being ignored. There are crows. I'm sure I'll be flying over and calling it this time. So what the hell is Aaron doing? Congratulations on completing the mission. You have successfully obtained the fountain item for the 100th anniversary of Irene's birth. The words just fell into the air. Suddenly, he was shrouded in a huge black shadow. Wait for Park Sejun to look up, completely dumbfounded. This is a bit too much of a reward. Fortunately, Park Sejun and the others subconsciously dodged. Otherwise, it could have been his final blow in the Black Tower. But then again, who is using such a large statue fountain? I saw a strange noise coming from the head of the statue. Suddenly, a waterfall of water spat out of his mouth. This is the fountain for the 100th anniversary of Irene's birth. The great black dragon sees Pratani. To commemorate the birth of Aaron Pridney. A custom-made fountain for the 100th anniversary. He used high-grade materials, black marble, and a fountain ruler made by dwarves imitating the shape of the orderer. The eyes of a black dragon statue. The great black dragon Anton Pratani was used. The philosopher's stone that inscribes magic yourself. The sprinkling of the great black dragon Caesar Pratani. It is possible to make your own water. It is also possible to draw water from a water source within a radius of 10 kilometers. The great black dragon Kaiser Pratani Maker. King Dwarf and his servants. The item level is S rank. One of the skills is level 50 production water. The remaining 2 skills are unknown. Park Sejun finished reading the introduction. That's when I realized what Aaron was talking about, a big reward. What's the meaning? The Black Tower administrator tells you. It's time to use it to reduce the amount of time you spend watering. Hearing this, Park Sejun called Love 0666 to know. Now the huge amount of farmland. It's already overwhelmed by the water fox rabbits. Now it can finally vacate it. Time to fetch water from the dungeon frequently. But Park Sejun raised his doubts about the fountain pool. What exactly are the 2 skills hidden in it? Said the Black Tower administrator. His grandfather didn't tell him about the 2 skills involved. How to use the skills to produce water. Because it's a placement prop, so there is no upper limit on usage. Furthermore, it is an item that matches the fountain pool. I remember there was also a console. Immediately, a prop that resembled a handle appeared in front of Park Sejun's eyes. Fountain. The magic controller can control the direction and distance of the water spray. There are also controllers to move the statue freely. Park Sejun picked up this handle that resembled the young people of country age playing. Lost in thought. You mean this gamepad? Can you manipulate this huge fountain? Immediately, Park Sejun couldn't wait to try. Unexpectedly, the fountain statue really moved slowly. Seeing this, Park Sejun began to familiarize himself with the functions of the console one by one. Park Sejun, who loves to play games. It didn't take long to figure out the full function of the handle. And so that scene reappeared. Huge fountain statue. It can flexibly imitate the dance of rabbits and bears. When it happened, Park Sejun made a special prank. Scared the giant bear badly in them. However, the giants of the fighting nation bear cubs subconsciously launched a counterattack against the statue. To know where a statue made of marble can withstand his blow. Even if Park Sejun has been single for 20 years, his hand speed is fast enough. But there were accidents. The statue's horns were broken by the bear. But here's the good news. At this time, the administrator Aaron did not notice this scene. But the bad news is, the crystal ball automatically went off the alarm. The administrator asked you what happened. Hearing this, Park Sejun pretended to be calm. Oh, nothing. It's just that this statue is so beautiful. They're going to take a closer look. That's right, Irene. Are you hungry or not? It may be that the gray rabbit's craftsmanship is too exquisite. It may also be that Park Sejun's acting skills are too realistic. Administrator Aaron hadn't really found the statue. The fountain pool has emerged. But Park Sejun hopes that Aaron will never notice there. The battle for the locust invasion of the Black Tower has been going on for some time. However, no fundamental solution has been found. Suddenly, the precious son of the Silver Wolf tribe patriarch Arca, Naughty, ran out. He wanted to collect one more specimen of the red locust. But for the matter of taking children to war, the patriarch's wife apparently disagreed. Wenyin Elka swears. So the lady does not have to worry about safety. They have mastered the habits and attack methods of locust invaders. And now it's the guard. The time for the lizard warrior to change the blade of the green onion. It is perfectly safe to collect locust carcasses in this cap. But the reality is that what you are afraid of is what you are afraid of. The patriarch's precious son just wanted to report to his family. He found a very complete locust carcass. But I didn't know that it was all a trap. Obviously, the locust he picked up was dying in the explosion. But by the time the Elkas realized it was too late, their precious children had been surrounded by an army of locusts. That's when it happened. The appearance of several sword chi temporarily blocked the locust's attack. It turned out to be a lizard man who spotted the situation in time. Who else knows? What is going to happen next is almost a dead end. The way the red locust army's attack has changed. What is the hidden story behind all these changes?